So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
So what do you
I
make
didn't
of
do anything. I know Malaya didn't do anything. I know my mother didn't do anything. Those are 3 people on the property. We didn't kill any of the kids, or we didn't kill the kids.
2 children, 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack, gone without a trace from their rural Nova Scotia home on a spring morning in May 2025. 160 ground search and rescue volunteers. 8.5 square kilometers of dense Canadian wilderness combed inch by inch. Service dogs, drones, helicopters, every resource imaginable deployed. More than 800 tips investigated. More than 8,000 videos reviewed by investigators. And yet, after 4 months of exhaustive searching, not a single definitive answer. But now, something has changed. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police have announced they're bringing in cadaver dogs, specialized canines trained to detect the scent of human decomposition. Dogs that weren't used in the initial massive ground search. Dogs that the children's stepfather claims he's been requesting for 3 months. Daniel Martel, the man who lived with Lily and Jack, who saw them last, who called their mother when they vanished, stands at the center of a case that has divided a community and ignited speculation across social media. He says he's relieved the cadaver dogs are finally coming. He says he's taken polygraph tests. He says he's offered investigators everything. His phone records, his banking information, unlimited access to his property.
With police.
Yeah, everything from my phone, doing a polygraph exam, and just asking them to do, here you go, search everything.
He says he's 100% certain they won't find anything. But in true crime, certainty from those closest to the victims often raises more questions than it answers. This is the story of 2 children who disappeared from a place they should have been safest. This is the story of a family torn apart by tragedy and suspicion. This is the story of a community demanding answers while investigators maintain they have no reason to believe this is a crime. Before we begin, if you're interested in missing persons cases and want to stay updated on developments in this investigation, kindly subscribe to Crime Chronicles and hit that notification bell. This case is ongoing, and we'll bring you updates as they unfold. Now, let's examine what we know. May 2nd, 2025, Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, a sparsely populated rural community approximately 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax. The Sullivan property sits isolated, surrounded by dense woods, steep banks, and the kind of wilderness that can swallow a person whole. At some point that morning, according to the official account, 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan wandered away from their home. Their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, makes a 911 call to report them missing. The children lived in that rural property with their biological mother, their stepfather Daniel Martel, and their 1-year-old baby sister. The home, a white mobile home set deep in the wooded area, would soon become the epicenter of one of Nova Scotia's most perplexing missing persons cases. Within hours, the response is massive. Ground search and rescue teams mobilize. Service dogs trained to track living persons deploy into the wilderness. Drones take to the air. Helicopters sweep overhead. Volunteers comb through 8.5 square kilometers of some of the most challenging terrain in the province. But Lily and Jack Sullivan are nowhere to be found. From the very beginning, investigators approach this case with the full weight of their resources. The RCMP's major crime unit becomes involved within 24 hours of the report. A telling detail that suggests police recognized early on that something about this disappearance didn't add up. Court documents would later reveal critical details. The last confirmed sighting of the children outside their home was captured on video surveillance at a local Dollarama store on May 1st, one day before they were reported missing. They were with their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, and Daniel Martel. After that footage, the children seemingly vanished. The investigation intensifies. Police interview at least 54 individuals. Some are administered polygraph tests. Investigators obtain search warrants, allowing them to dig deep into the digital footprints of those closest to the children. Phone records, banking information, GPS data, every electronic trail that might tell them where Lily and Jack went. Two boot tracks are discovered near the family home. Another is found nearby. Physical evidence that someone walked through that area, but leading where and belonging to whom? In cases involving missing children, investigators always look closest to home first. Statistics are grimly clear. When children disappear, those who last saw them are often the ones who hold the answers. Daniel Martel understands this reality all too well. He would later tell media outlets that he went above and beyond to cooperate with police. He encouraged them to search the family property, not once, but repeatedly. He offered his cell phone, his banking records. He requested polygraph tests, knowing full well that in the court of public opinion, the stepfather is always the first suspect. His relationship with the children's mother, Malihia Brooks Murray, reportedly deteriorated rapidly after the disappearance. By the day after the children went missing, the couple had become estranged, a rupture that would never heal. And through it all, the questions mounted. Why weren't cadaver dogs deployed immediately? Why did investigators seem to be treating this as a wandering case when two young children vanished without a trace from such an isolated location? And what were police not telling the public? As spring turned to summer and summer edged toward fall, the Sullivan case grew colder. Search efforts that once dominated local news headlines gradually faded from a daily cycle. But for the family members, for Daniel Martel, for the children's paternal grandmother Belinda Gray, for everyone who knew and loved Lily and Jack, every day without answers was its own kind of torture. Daniel Martel described the waiting in stark terms: physically exhausting, mentally exhausting, emotionally exhausting. But, he said, every day you wake up and it's a new day, new hope. Yet hope is a complicated thing when your stepchildren have been missing for months and the community around you is buzzing with theories, accusations, and suspicion. In the modern age, missing persons investigations don't unfold solely in police interview rooms and search grids. They explode across social media platforms where armchair detectives dissect every detail, every statement, every perceived inconsistency. The Sullivan case became a phenomenon on YouTube, where true crime content creators began producing videos analyzing every aspect of the disappearance. One YouTuber in particular gained traction by positioning her content as an alternative to traditional media, a place for more open discussions about theories that mainstream journalists wouldn't touch. Daniel Martel himself engaged with this content. In one video comment, he wrote, "I should release all the information I brought to major crimes that would point fingers. It's undeniable and I hold back." What information was he holding back? What fingers could be pointed? These cryptic statements only fueled more speculation, more theories, more suspicion. The stepfather found himself in an impossible position. Say too much and appear defensive. Say too little and appear to be hiding something. Every word, every inflection, every decision scrutinized by thousands of people who had never met him but felt certain they knew the truth. Nearly 7 weeks after the children's disappearance, Daniel Martel sat down for a polygraph examination. He would later recount the experience to media outlets, describing the nervousness, the stress. The first question investigators asked him, "Did you kill the children?" His answer, according to his account, "No." But polygraph tests are controversial tools. They're not admissible in Canadian courts. They measure physiological responses, heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, that can be affected by nervousness, stress, fear, even the knowledge that you're being tested for truthfulness. Innocent people can fail. Guilty people can pass. What the polygraph results showed, police have never publicly disclosed. What it means that Martel voluntarily took the test and spoke about it openly, that remains a matter of interpretation. Belinda Gray, the children's paternal grandmother, watched the investigation from the sidelines with growing frustration. Her son, Cody Sullivan, is Jack and Lily's biological father, though he hadn't been in their lives for 3 years. Still, the grandmother loved those children, and she believed the investigation wasn't moving fast enough. For months, Gray called for cadaver dogs to be brought in. For months, she watched searches happen without the specialized resources that could detect human remains. She described the experience as a roller coaster, getting through your days, doing the best you can, but never getting real answers. When the RCMP finally announced in September that cadaver dogs would be deployed, Gray said she wanted to jump up and down. But even that relief was tinged with bitterness. They're finally doing something that to me should have been done a couple of months ago at least. Why the delay? Police maintained they didn't have definitive information to support that the children were deceased. They said they had to keep their minds open and look at all investigative avenues. They said deploying cadaver dogs was a natural next step, not an indication of failure, but of thoroughness. But to family members, to community members, to everyone watching this case unfold, the delayed deployment of cadaver dogs felt like precious time wasted. Human remains detection dogs are not ordinary search dogs. They undergo highly specialized training to detect one thing: the distinct odor of decomposition. These dogs don't search for living people. They don't search for recent trauma. They search for death. Staff Sergeant Stephen Pike, program manager of the RCMP Police Dog Services Training Center, explained that only 6 to 8 of these specialized dog teams are in service across all of Canada. None are based in Nova Scotia. The nearest operational team sits on Prince Edward Island, but at the time the Sullivan case needed them, that team was unavailable due to medical leave. That meant cadaver dog teams had to be brought in from British Columbia. Sergeant Dave Whalen and his dog Kit, Inspector Luke Reddy and his dog Narc. 2 teams, 2 highly trained animals capable of detecting decomposition underwater, underground, even in challenging environments like septic fields or landfills. These dogs rely on scent, not sight. They can lead handlers to foliage-concealed remains. They can detect bodies that have been buried. If human decomposition occurred anywhere within their search area, these dogs should theoretically be able to find it, assuming the odor is present and being released. Pike noted one case where a dog uncovered material related to an investigation 2 years later from the ocean floor at low tide. The capabilities of these animals are remarkable, but they're not infallible. If remains are somewhere airtight, if environmental factors have eliminated the scent, the dogs may find nothing. When Daniel Martel learned that cadaver dogs would finally be deployed, his reaction was relief. He told media outlets he was actually pretty happy about that because he'd been asking for them for 3 months and had been repeatedly delayed. There's something striking about that response. Relief that dogs trained to find dead bodies are coming to search the area around your home. Happiness that investigators are taking this step. Most people in his position might be dreaded, might be terrified of what those dogs could uncover. But Martel's position, as he's consistently maintained, is that he has nothing to hide. He's cooperated fully. He's taken polygraph tests. He's offered unlimited access to his property, his records, his entire life. From his perspective, cadaver dogs are not a threat. They're vindication. If the dogs find nothing, it proves what he's been saying all along. 100%, he's stated, they won't find anything. That certainty is either the confidence of an innocent man or the bravado of someone who believes they've been thorough enough that evidence won't be found. The RCMP announced that cadaver dog searches would happen in areas of highest probability, but refused to specify exactly where or when, citing safety concerns. The searches would not occur over that weekend in September. They would unfold over the coming days and weeks as investigators systematically worked through their priority locations. Corporal Guillaume Tremblay addressed the media, carefully managing expectations. What's important to remember is that at this time, we don't have any definitive information to support that the children are deceased, he said. But we have to keep our minds open and look at all investigative avenues. The deployment of cadaver dogs doesn't mean police believe Lily and Jack are dead. It means they've exhausted other possibilities. It means they need to be thorough. It means that after 4 months of searching, they still don't know what happened. The dogs would search, and when they finished searching, the community would have one of 2 outcomes. Either evidence of human remains would be found, or it wouldn't. If remains were found, it would be a devastating confirmation of the worst-case scenario, but at least it would be an answer. If nothing was found, what would that mean? That the children wandered further than anyone imagined? That they met some other fate? That the answers lie somewhere investigators haven't yet looked? Or would it mean nothing at all? Just another investigative avenue that led nowhere, leaving the mystery as impenetrable as ever. In late August 2025, court documents were unsealed that shed new light on the investigation. As of July 16th, investigators did not believe the case was criminal in nature. Despite the exhaustive scrutiny of Malihia Brooks-Murray and Daniel Martel, despite the GPS tracking, the phone records, the banking information, the interviews, the polygraphs, police found no evidence suggesting criminal involvement. That doesn't mean they've ruled it out. It means that based on everything they've gathered so far, the most likely scenario remains that two young children wandered away from their rural home and met with tragedy in the unforgiving wilderness. But that explanation raises its own troubling questions. How do two children, ages 6 and 4, vanish so completely that months of intensive searching by trained professionals yields nothing? How do they leave no trail, no physical evidence, no trace beyond those boot prints near the home? A pink blanket was seized from Lansdowne Road early in the search. Forensic teams examined it. What they found, police have never disclosed. More than 800 tips have been investigated. More than 8,000 videos reviewed. 54 people interviewed. And still, the RCMP maintains they don't know what happened to Lily and Jack Sullivan. For the people of Lansdowne Station and the surrounding Pictou County area, the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan represents something more than a single tragic case. It represents the fragility of safety, the limits of understanding, the terrible randomness of loss. School buses that once carried Lily and Jack now carry other children who knew them. Friends who played with them now attend classes without them. A community that should have been celebrating summer birthdays and back-to-school milestones instead found itself suspended in grief and uncertainty. Daniel Martel described the exhaustion, physical, mental, emotional. But it's not just him. It's every family member, every searcher who volunteered their time, every investigator who has poured months into finding answers. Every person who saw Lily and Jack's faces on missing persons posters and felt the weight of their absence. The RCMP has pledged they're not going to stop until they find out what happened. Corporal Tremblay told media, "I know the public, our officers, want to know what happened, and we're not going to stop. But wanting answers and getting them are two different things." As of now, Lily and Jack Sullivan remain missing. The cadaver dog searches represent the latest chapter in an investigation that has consumed hundreds of hours of professional work and captured the attention of true crime followers across North America. Daniel Martel continues to maintain his innocence, continues to cooperate with investigators, continues to live with the knowledge that many people view him with suspicion simply because he was the stepfather who was there when the children vanished. Malihia Brooks-Murray, the children's mother, has largely remained out of the public eye, dealing with her own grief and her own scrutiny from investigators. Belinda Gray continues to advocate for the grandchildren she may never see again, pushing for answers, pushing for justice, pushing for closure that may never come. And somewhere, in those dense Nova Scotia woods, or in some scenario investigators haven't yet imagined, or in a truth that remains just beyond reach, the answer to what happened to 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan waits to be discovered. The case of Lily and Jack Sullivan reminds us that not every mystery gets solved quickly. Not every question gets answered. Not every missing persons case ends with the clear resolution we desperately want. But the search continues. The investigation remains active. And somewhere out there, the truth exists. If you have any information about the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan, please contact the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Nova Scotia. Every tip, no matter how small it seems, could be the piece that finally brings these children home, or at least brings their family the answers they deserve. Thank you for watching this episode of True Crime Chronicles. If this case resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We cover ongoing investigations with the respect and thoroughness they deserve, and we'll bring you updates on the Sullivan case as new information emerges. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe the cadaver dog searches will finally provide answers? Share your respectful theories in the comments below, and remember, behind every true